And there came a day unlike... Wait, no, that's been done. Who knows what evil lurks in... No, that is that other thing. What has yellow skin and rights? Ah, forget it. You're listening to Panelology. Excelsi, oh damn it.
Welcome to episode 219 of Panelology. I'm Alex.
And I'm Brian.
Hey, Brian. Welcome back.
Thanks. You too, man.
How you doing this week?
I was doing real good till I overindulged a little yesterday. But I'm okay. I'm good.
Wild nights out partying?
Oh, I don't know how wild it was, but it was a little too much.
Well, it happens. I bought myself a new liquor cabinet and put that together. I might have talked about that last week. I don't think I did.
I don't know. I didn't record last week.
Yeah. But I am very happy with it. I have freed up an entire shelf in my kitchen pantry.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks nicer than the shelf I had where it is now, and also I have more storage space. So, everything's great.
Awesome.
In that one specific regard.
In regard to liquor. Perfect. That's.
Well, I want to go ahead and get into comics. We've got a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. DCeased, Dead Planet #1.
Man, I am really, really digging this DC stuff.
Me too.
He has done another wonderful job at world creating.
Yes.
Specifically, I don't think I said Tom Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the same person that did the Injustice world, and this is fantastic. Probably the best zombie book I have read in my opinion. God, I don't know, a couple of years at least.
Yeah, I'm not a big zombie person, and yet I still love this.
I'm not either, but yeah. I was going to say, I think the freeing ability of it being an AU world, right, that has no is the only thing that makes this work, right? Because he can do the things that you could never do in the main Earth Zero.
Like killing off the Trinity and giving their kids their mantles and... Mm-hmm. Letting Black Canary become the Green Canary, which is still one of my favorite fucking things.
That is awesome. And apparently the other Green Lanterns are still around. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, well, not just the Trinity, but I mean, Aquaman and Hal Jordan and Flash and
most of the OG Justice League.
Most of the OG Justice League are gone.
Cyborg
I take that
Cyborg
back.
has found a way to get ahead, though.
Indeed he has.
We are in the future relative to when the first series ended.
Yes. What is it? 3 years? Is that right? 10 years.
I think it's more like 10, yeah.
It's 10 years.
They are adults at this point.
Right, yeah.
And at some point, Cyborg's head has been separated from his body.
Thanks, Wonder Woman.
And... Cyborg does some recalculations and decides, oh, you know what? I should call the Justice League from the deepest reaches of space to come back. Coming back seems like the worst possible idea, but they're the Justice League, so that's what they do.
Yep.
Against the president's wishes.
President Lane, yes.
Yeah.
I love Green Arrow in this.
Me too.
He is so good. He's like, am I the only one who thinks this is like the worst idea ever going back to this planet? And Canary's like, yeah, but we have to do it. Like, if there's a chance to save even one of our people, we're gonna take it. And so they're like, I think we should vote on it. So she's like, later he's talking to Green Canary, and she's like, well, but you voted to go, and he's like, well, yeah. all the kids raise their hands. I'm not going to sit there and like not raise mine.
Yeah, they are fantastic. I love the two of them together. Awkward silence.
Yeah.
So everyone does go back, and immediately Zombie Wonder Woman, who we know from Unkillables is a major, major problem.
Yeah, she is probably the biggest threat to be reckoned with.
Yeah. She immediately shows up.
Yeah, Superman still exists, but he's in the middle of the sun eating it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We do get somebody else who did escape from Earth as soon as they get back, though, and comes to greet Superman, the new Superman, John.
Yes, a good boy.
A good boy. Yeah, Crypto smashes right through those green construct shields, and yeah, it's awesome.
There is no amount of will that can keep a dog from his boy.
That's right. Yeah, so they go to find Cyborg's head, and sure enough, yeah, Wonder Woman shows up, and I gotta say that panel where Canary screams at her, which she kind of blocks and withholds against, and then the next page you turn the page and you just see Hawkgirl's mace smashing her like it's thrown, and you just see it full force just smashing her in the face, and it is like, damn.
Don't mess with Shiera.
Nope, or her mace. We know about that, right? Yep.
This is just so good, and I don't want to say how this issue ends, but I will say I was surprised that it was as hopeful a beat as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say that, I know we're just going to end up more heartbroken before this is all said and done.
I'm quite certain we probably will. Yeah. The three. So Damian is Batman, John is Superman, and Cassandra is as the new Wonder Woman. The new Trinity is awesome too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we get more Cassie. We haven't seen a lot of her in the first series or so far in this one.
Right.
And I think getting more of her would be cool.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Moving on. Justice League number 48.
This is a super, super interesting story.
It feels so much to me like an episode of the 2000s Justice League cartoon in the best possible way.
Yeah. Like, how good is Wonder Woman in this and her thought processes?
She's great. And like, I love the tension that this sets up between her and Batman and Superman, because it is really like a very character-driven sort of disagreement.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense why each of them takes the stand they do, and why none of them can just like let it go.
So what the setup here is the Justice League goes out because there's a report of a distress signal from this ship. They go out and they see this monster attacking this ship, and you kind of get the encapsulation of it right here in this as like a prelude as to how this is going to go, because there's this giant thing about to eat the ship, like gnawing on it, right? And Batman is all about, let's analyze this and figure out what to do, and let's get in there and rescue the people, do that. Superman is all about, well, we've got to get this monster off of here right now, right? Yeah.
The hull will crack, anyone on it will die, including Batman.
Right. I don't want to kill it, but if I have to, I'm going to use as much force as I have to keep this, right? And I can't remember who it is that says this. Somebody, as soon as they get there, says something about, maybe it's Green Lantern, says, no, it's Wonder Woman. We should check the Green Lantern xenotype directory. This might not be aggressive behavior. It could just be, its natural instincts, right?
Yeah.
And Superman's like, there's no time. It's cracking the hull, blah, blah, and, just goes into action, right? So, like 2 pages later, Wonder Woman shows up with this meteorite rock and throws it, and the monster turns and essentially goes after it. Because while they were doing stuff, she looked up the creature in the xenotype directory and found out that it was really a mating thing, and that it would go after the rock which had the egg.
Yeah.
And oh, yeah. about and it sets up the whole acting before you really know what's going on or figuring out what the consequences are going to be, right?
Right. It's really a tension between proactive action and reasoned, measured response.
Yep.
And the tension makes sense because you don't want casualties, but at the same time, you don't know if your actions in an alien environment will make the situation worse.
Correct. There's like we talk about with emergency situations and scouting, where the first thing you do if you come upon somebody who's hurt, right, is the first thing you do is not go to them. The first thing you do is look at the environment and the situation and make sure that whatever hurt them is not going to hurt you if you go try to assist them, because then you just have two hurt people. And it's kind of that, yes, immediate action may be necessary, but there has to be that half step before that of making sure you're not actually doing something that's going to make the situation worse. Right?
That's why they tell you never jump into a body of water to save a drowning person.
Right. Correct. So we find out that there's a bunch of kids on board the ship who have been set adrift by this homeworld. There's this homeworld that has two factions, very clearly an organic, life faction, a flesh faction, and a technology faction who are replacing themselves with technology parts, and they are constantly at odds with each other, and the only person who can touch both sides is the bloodline of the ruling family, who is half organic, half this technology. And they go in, and basically we get almost the same kind of situation where Wonder Woman's like, we shouldn't interfere here. Like, I know it's awful that they sent these kids adrift in the ship and all that, but we don't know the political situation. We don't know what their, mores and how this society works and why it works the way it does and all this. And if we start going in and doing stuff, we may make things worse.
And as it turns out, their radioing back that they had saved these kids immediately made things worse.
Yes.
Because, and again, it's sort of the at the surface versus what lies deeper. At the surface, it reads as a good thing because these two enslaved peoples have banded together and overthrown this empress and removed the mind control units from soldiers' brains and freed children and freed political prisoners. But none of them feels like they know how to rule, so they want the Justice League to do it for them.
Yeah, they want their new space gods to rule for them. To rule them.
Yeah.
Because only the Empress's family has ruled for thousands and thousands of years. None of them know how.
Yeah.
Right.
So all of these unintended consequences keep compounding and keep pushing these two opposing viewpoints further and further apart.
Yep. And just about the time that, maybe they're trying to do something, this other world entity shows up, like another race shows up and says, oh, yeah, well, now that you don't have a ruler, now we're going to basically take over.
Yeah.
We're going to conquer you now that you don't have the Empress's bloodline who can, organize you against us, essentially. Yeah. So it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah. I love it. It's great. I think this is only a 2 or 3 issue arc. It's Cy Spurrier writing.
Yeah. It's at least 2. Yeah.
Yeah. But I am so here for the rest of it. In fact, the next issue is out this coming week.
Yeah.
Young Justice number 16. Whatever happened to Bartholomew Allen?
Yeah, this is this book is probably doing more to question and advance the whole rebirth thing than anything else right now.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see, and I think some of this was already a little messy.
Yeah.
Before the shipping hiatus from Diamond. And I think it's even messier now in that I could not tell you in terms of timelines.
Yeah.
How this and the conversation in Action Comics a couple of weeks ago with I almost called him Blue Marvel, Mr. Terrific.
Oh, yeah.
And the Adams and whoever else talking about Connor and Connor's history. Like how this lines up with that, and how all of this lines up with... I think all of this takes place still before the end of Scott Snyder's Justice League run.
I think so. But now, it's very clear this that's happening in Young Justice happens before the Action Comics stuff.
Yeah, it has to. And I think all of it has to come before that and before Death Metal.
Yes. Yeah.
If I had to hazard a guess, I think what we're seeing is that Generation 0, Generation 1 event having gone away, and some of that lore work happening across Bendis's books instead.
That could be. Yeah, because they just pretty much scrapped the idea of that Generation stuff, right?
And as far as I know, yes, a lot of the Free Comic Book Day stuff has been resolicited, starting actually this coming week.
Okay.
But that Free Comic Book Day issue is still unaccounted for. All of those one-shots are unaccounted for in solicitations. And really, that project was being spearheaded by Dan DiDio, who left DC shortly before everything ground to a halt.
Yep.
So my guess, and Scott Snyder has said that, without getting into details, that changes in the plans at DC because of the delays caused by Diamond stopping shipping and other things. Presumably those other things could mean the Generation stuff going away.
Yep.
That he's been given more room to expand Death Metal and more leeway in what he does in it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk later about like some one-shots that have been announced for it and things like that. Yeah. But I think all of that is to say, like, this is the new plan. I think this is the answer instead of the Generation stuff.
I don't dislike this.
I like this a lot, actually. I like the idea of, and it feels like it's still maybe of a piece with that. Like, it feels maybe it has some of that DNA in it. Mm-hmm. But I like this idea of saying, well, what really gives us a tie to our history? It's all these legacy characters.
Yep. So essentially what we got is the last issue. We got Bart giving us an explanation for how Connor.
Right? How am Connor?
How Connor. And so in doing that, he basically, it's kind of what we theorized, is that crisis happened while Connor was in Gem World, and because he was in a different dimension, it kind of just skipped and did away with him, and so he survived by being outside of the world.
Reality, yeah.
Yeah. So
and kind of the same as a little true for Bart, it turns out.
Yeah, so Bart was fighting Mirror Master, who sent him somewhere like between dimensions.
He sent him into the gutters.
Yeah, exactly. If only Gwenpool had been there, she could have saved him. But
I need that crossover right the fuck
now. An Impulse Gwenpool crossover?
I mean, can you imagine him never stopping moving and her, like, being her?
Yes. Yep.
Throw in a little Quentin Quire just absolutely done with all of it on the first page. I am here for it. Call me, DC and Marvel.
I love it. Yeah, so he getting out of that ends up in like a future where Young Justice has died. So he asks his doctor, who is Dr. Quinzel at Arkham,
because he has been thrown in the teen wing of Arkham.
Right, which, you know, the fact that exists is its own problem. And essentially nobody knows exactly what happened to them.
Yeah. But they've been dead for like 40 years.
Right. Yeah, this is a much, much older Harleen. Yeah, Quinzel. And so he comes back in time, and that's why he feels like he has to put Young Justice back together.
Yeah.
So that they can be together to stand against whatever it is that they fell against before.
Well, and when he comes back in time, he comes back to a time where they hadn't been together anyway.
Right.
Because time has shifted, reality has shifted while he was in that void, really.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
And of course, Drake shows up and hears all of this.
Uh-huh.
So they're going to go to the Hall of Justice and try to get some answers.
Yeah. And I think that because the plan had been at the end of the last one that they were going to go the next morning to the Hall of Justice so Connor could talk to Superman. And that's what happens in action, right?
After Superman and Plastic Man give their live stream of
their live
whatever.
Stream, yes, event. Sure.
I love that detail.
I know, I do too. I do too. Yeah, so that's what's happening here. And essentially at the end of the last issue, everybody kind of went their own way, but they went their own way with the understanding that that Young Justice is a team. They are all members of it, meaning that includes Spoiler and Arrowette and
Sideways
for Heroes kids. Yeah, like all of them, all of that Wonder Comics group.
Yeah.
The Zane and Jaina, right? They're all members of Young Justice and can call on each other for help. And they don't have like a regular meeting time or anything, but they're gonna occasionally presumably get together. And Zan is gonna get them official status as essentially Young Justice League members. Yeah. So all that's happening.
Yeah, I get the impression for at least like the next arc, maybe we're gonna kind of get some smaller, more character-driven. Like here are 2 or 3 characters at a time.
That would be my guess, is that we're gonna move through several, kind of either partnerships or 3 characters at a time type thing, and then I would probably 6 months or so from now we'll get another everybody back together for something big.
I know September's issue is about Drake and Spoiler.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I want to know what happens with those 2.
Me too. Those 2 crazy kids.
I know it.
All right. Speaking of crazy kids, Red Sonja number 16.
Whew, man. Wow, she really steps into these things, doesn't she?
She does.
Just kind of wow. So she has, in order to get aid for her kingdom, which they had to basically burn all their crops and throw everything out in their war to win their war. But in doing so now they're victorious, they're free, but they have no food and they're all starving.
Yeah.
So she goes to her old kingdom of Katai, where she served under the War Master there, where she trained, and agrees to be the new king's War Master in exchange for him sending aid to Hyrcania.
Yeah.
Wow, is this guy like he's just awful, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
and like she knows it, and he's the one who betrayed and killed the former War Master, her mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very much a repudiation of like the military side of capitalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that people's bodies are commoditized. In this case, young male-bodied people are sent into the army, and even younger female-bodied people are sold into sex work.
Yes, they are given to the College of Concubines. Yes. Yeah. And my quote of the week is from this, and I just think this one's not humorous. I just think this is just a phenomenal quote. And they're going to go. She's going to have to lead these boys on as an army to conquer their first land, because the king, the reason he wanted her is to basically start creating an empire to go conquer lands. And so the first one, there's a comment that all these campaigns, snatching lands, having it snatched back, you'd think at some point they would realize how pointless it all is. Every great empire crumbles. Every conqueror is someday the conquered. They play a game that only produces losers. And he goes, yeah, I know. It's just the only game they have pieces for.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice work, Mark Russell.
Indeed.
Oh, like, why do you keep playing this game? Because it's the only game they know how to play and that they can. So that's what they do. Ouch. Yeah, it's so good though. I love Mark Russell writing this book so much.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We also have Killing Red Sonja. Number 2 came out this week. I say this week. Some of these books that we're talking about came out last week.
Last week, yeah.
Too. We're talking about 2 weeks books together. In the past fortnight. How's that?
I like it.
This continues the prince's journey to find his vengeance against Red Sonja. And he learns a couple of things. One, maybe he is not being taken as seriously as he would like. And 2, more we learn than he learns. With all of the decimation and war that we saw throughout the first 12 issues of Red Sonja, and with so many fallen kingdoms, magical beasts have sort of come out of the woodwork and started taking up more space in the world, which I think is something we remarked on in number 1, that we were seeing some stuff in this that we had not been accustomed to seeing in Red Sonja under Mark Russell. And this kind of gives us a reason why. Yeah.
Which makes sense, when kingdoms fall or fail after a war, then, they can't stop the brigands and, in this case, magical creatures from proliferating.
It's almost like the social construct is designed to keep bad things from happening to everyone.
It's almost that way. Yeah.
Huh. Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, The Death of Nancy Drew, number 2.
So number 2, I read 1 and 2 both this week, though. Oh my God, this series is good. There was a huge outcry when the series was announced, like a massive uprising. How the hell could they even think about doing this to a character like Nancy Drew, right? You can't kill Nancy Drew, right? And the first issue came out, and sure enough, it starts out with Joe trying to figure out he can't accept that she just died in a car wreck. He even though everything shows that it was, there was a recall on a part that they think is what failed, and but Joe just can't accept it. So he starts investigating and getting in some trouble, and Frank comes and bails him out of jail, and basically is like, I'm driving you home to Mom. You have to let this go now. But he won't. And then something happens at the end of the first issue, and we find out maybe Joe was right.
Just maybe.
So the second one has has Joe and Frank working together, and they start finding some evidence and putting some pieces together. And there's a bit of a twist, and it's really good. And I love these characters so much, and seeing them in a world that allows them to grow and treats them in like a modern, how you would treat characters today in a story, as opposed to, how they were written in their original books, right? It's super, super good. Like the Bobbsey this spins out after the big, I think it was called The Big Lie, which was the first series that had Nancy and the Hardy Boys essentially finding out who killed Frank and Joe's dad.
Right.
Turns out it was this thing called the Syndicate, which was created and run by the father of the Bobbsey twins. Right. And so the Bobbsey twins, the only thing they have left is a franchise that their dad bought for them because they like the chicken sandwiches there. So they're having to work at the Chick-fil-A. Yes. Yes. But just seeing and Nancy's dad, Carson Drew, is the only one who he was the lawyer for the syndicate, like not knowingly, so he wasn't like involved in all the criminal stuff they did, but like was shady enough in his dealings that essentially he would have gone to jail if he had not turned state's witness kind of thing against them. So he's no longer can practice law and has been ostracized. And Mary Ann Bobbsey, obviously her husband, all of their assets were seized and all this stuff. So she's been ostracized. No one will talk to her. So the two of them have started a friendship. Like, okay. But yeah, it's so good. I love seeing these characters utilized in a modern day setting.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about Adventureman #2? I just need this book straight into my veins. I need Adventureman intravenously. This is so good.
There's nothing about this that I don't like.
I love Claire.
Claire's the best.
I love the art. The Dodsons are just so good always. They never disappoint. And it's such a fun story.
I even love her son, who is the type of character that normally I would not like.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The scene where he will not respond to her because he is in class is just...
Oh my God. It's
so good.
She's tried to text him to get him to look something up, and he's like on the DL trying to like text his phone, like trying to say, I can't use my phone right now, I'm in class, and of course he gets busted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her comment like, how dare he not respond to his mom and follow the rules? Come on. Yeah.
So this issue sees Claire realize that maybe there is something special about this Adventureman book after her son points out that it actually has a published address for the headquarters that is the same as the publishing company in all of the Adventureman books. And she decides to go investigate after some monster ruins some perfectly good souffle.
No kid, right?
Bugs are not an ingredient in chocolate souffle.
They are not.
And she goes to this address and sees this big, beautiful Art Deco building that she's never seen before, that no one else seems to be able to see. And goes in and is greeted by one of... Are they called Adventure Inc.? Is that what the group name is?
Yes.
She's greeted by one of the former members of Adventure Inc. and told, just be brave and strong and you'll be fine. And then the robots start attacking.
Yeah. Point out, on the way here, she's on her scooter on the way here. Did we know that she was a former police officer already?
I think that is new information. I think there was a hint that she had a more exciting life than running a bookshop in the first issue. But I don't think we knew she was a former police officer.
Yeah, she drives by on her scooter and grabs the coffee out of the hands of a cop. And the other cop's like, I can't believe somebody just did that. We got to go. Let's go get it. And he's like, calm down. She used to be one of us.
Yeah. And also, he wanted his coffee black, not with 2 sugars and cream anyway. So it's no big loss.
Exactly. Yeah, so she gets inside the building here, and it is essentially, the abandoned headquarters of this group. And it's got dilapidated, falling apart stuff in it.
Yeah. I love the way she solves the how do I beat these echolocating robots in the dark puzzle.
Yes. Yep.
And I love the last scene where she shows up to this week's family dinner. Like, just that, guys, I had the weirdest day or whatever, is such a great splash page.
Yeah. And she figures out that she has to remember from the stories what the code phrase is for the elevator to work.
Yep.
To the greatest unknown.
Cue lyrics from Frozen 2 here.
Yeah. I love she shows up for dinner and her pants are all ripped up and her shirt's all torn and all this, and she's like, wow, I had the craziest day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
So good. Doctor Strange, #5.
Let's see, who is it? Doctor Strange and is it Dr. Druid?
Dr. Druid, yeah.
Dr. Druid, yeah. So Steven is further investigating who has broken into his sanctum. What does he call it? The sanctum forge, the sanctum something, and basically created all of these weapons, sanctum machina.
There we go.
To create all of these magical weapons that they are selling to people on a black market.
Yeah. And these weapons are unstable and not bound correctly and like not just dangerous by virtue of being magical weapons, but unstable and extra dangerous.
Yeah, we get some good Zelma.
We do. I also enjoy the like fight at the top of this between him and Smile and was it Smile and
it is
Sulk.
Sulk. Yeah, Smile and Sulk. Mr. Smile and Mr. Sulk. Yeah.
They have these two hammers, one of which breaks things down and the other of which basically builds things to be hyper dense.
Yeah, one is a hammer of chaos and one is a hammer of order, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entropy and the opposite of entropy.
Negentropy is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it turns out that they don't get along very well when they connect with each other.
No.
Yeah.
And then Steven and Dr. Druid go on a stakeout to see who is selling these weapons.
Yep. And I love that. So they're basically going to this auction, and they know that they can't magically disguise themselves because clearly, if they're this place is a magical city that they're going to, and it's an auction for magical. They're going to detect any kind of
magic
spell that
they're
would
very
put in
good
place.
at detect magic.
Exactly. So he asks Mr. Fantastic to send him some image inducers.
Yeah.
And they use technology to do it. I love it.
I would never, ever, ever in 100 years have guessed who was behind this.
I wouldn't have either.
And it's such a perfect choice that makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm. It's Madame Mask.
It's Madame Mask because, hey, she got real good at magic while fighting Doctor Doom as Iron Man.
Yep.
Now I've got my fingers crossed for a Doctor Strange Kate Bishop team up.
Oh, that would be so good. That would be so good. Yeah, and sure enough, she knows that there's something up with the person that they're posing as, and sure enough, finds the image inducer and gets, is ready to unmask Steven and Stephen Strange, and finds out that it's not him.
It's Dr. Decoy.
Druid. Yeah, Dr. Decoy. I love it. And Steven is there in the city. Basically, the odds against me are impossible. It's me against the whole city, but they don't know I'm here.
Yep.
Here we go. I love it.
All right, last one. Empyre, Fantastic Four #0.
What did you think of this?
I enjoy the way all of the characters are written in it. More than I care about the actual setup, if I'm being honest.
Okay. That is a very fair. Like, I like the story. It was like this story, right?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time. I don't know. Maybe it's just the whole setup for this Empyre thing. I don't know. It's just not grabbing me. Like,
yeah, I think this issue suffers a little bit from just its timing. I think if this had come out before the Avengers issue, it would have felt more necessary in terms of finding out what's going on, finding out that we've got this truce. But we kind of already know all of those things. And I'm not a huge fan of, like, the Grandmaster makes two people fight as a plot line like that. And it's not just a Grandmaster thing, or in this case it's the promoter, but, like, anytime there's what's that DC underground fighting ring that occasionally pops up? The lady in the red dress with the snake tattoo runs it.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Viper, but that's not it. It's but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's just cage match style issues never really do a whole lot for me. And that's like a lot of what this is. Now, that said, Franklin and Valeria and Sue teaming up to game a casino.
Yeah.
Is pretty great.
I love that they don't, like, when they get ready to go in to this, right? They're like, no, you two stay here and guard the car or the ship, right? Because we'll need the ship to get back home. Da, da, da. And they go in, and Valeria's first thing is, okay, I totally read what they were saying to us here. They wanted to leave us behind with the ship because they know I'm an Omega level intelligence, and this is a casino. I totally got this.
Yeah.
Like, reading that they wanted her to go in and use her intellect to, get the money that they need for whatever. And she totally screws it up.
I think this is, and I think what I'm getting to as sort of I talk through it, I think this is a much stronger Fantastic Four issue.
Yes.
Than Empyre issue.
I agree. 100%. 100%.
Like, I still really enjoy it. I love the way all of the characters in this are written and the way they interact with each other. I'm just ready for Empyre #1 already. Like, after the Avengers 0, 1 needs to be the next thing. I think if you flipped the order, that actually would solve a lot of the problem.
I will agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
That being said, I do like. So what's going on here is the promoter basically at this casino has basically continuing the Kree Skrull War will never end here for your entertainment.
Yeah.
And she has this like young teen Kree and male Kree and this young teen female Skrull who have been raised to hate each other, and they're just battling again and again and again in all these different scenarios from the war.
Raised to hate each other and have the entire collective histories of their respective peoples burned into their memory.
Yes.
So, like, they're a living, not just a living history, but they're like a living history of conflict.
Yeah, right. The embodiment of the war, right.
The thing that I most want to see come out of this is I need to see, like, the two of them as students in the Future Foundation.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Like, I need them, like, trying to get along with the Moloid kids and Kid Gladiator and, like, the other students there just for a day.
Well, and so here's the thing is, Human Torch and Thing break into the arena, right? To try to stop this. And so what they do, I absolutely love this. So the scenario that Reed calls up on the computer for them to fight in is the blue area of the moon, the old Inhuman base, where the Kree and Skrull basically had to team up together to fight the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And so they forced these two kids to do that again.
And I think that's one of the things that is a really smart hook for Empyre.
Yeah. Yes, that's the best piece of this.
Yeah.
From an Empyre standpoint, by far. And yeah, so and basically Thing and Torch take a dive, essentially, so that the kids win, and they're like, well, they look at each other, they're like, well, we both won. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the promoter has been so distracted. I'm sorry, not the promoter, the Profiteer.
The Profiteer, yes.
The promoter was the Eternal from Jeremy Whitley's Thor Hulk series.
Yes. Yeah.
The Profiteer has been so distracted by Ben and Johnny mucking things up and Reed fighting her that she has not noticed Valeria and Franklin and Sue grifting the entire casino to the point that Valeria Richards now owns this space casino.
Yep. Yeah, because Sue has been invisibly helping their odds.
Lady Luck.
Lady Luck, yes. I love it. Yeah, super, super, super good.
Yeah. All right. Is it still good? Billionaire Island, #2, Brian.
Oh, yeah, this is still good. Our reporter finds out how to escape from her giant gerbil cage.
King of Nowhere, #3. We meet some fish parents and learn that perhaps actions have consequences. Something is killing the children, number 8. Erica realizes that sometimes the only thing you can do is play the hand you're dealt, and does that as the sheriff learns what's really going on. Batman number 94, Brian.
This is the final part of the setup before Joker War starts. And, you know, Batman and Selina ended not on great terms, and Selina is now... And so everybody in Gotham knows that this is coming now, and the Penguin has taken Selina out of the hospital where Joker was going to go kill her, and basically her and a bunch of the other Batman villains are in lockdown in his cool room.
Yep.
Yeah.
Batman and the Outsiders, number 14. Black Lightning powers up thanks to Batman as Cassandra and Duke go with Lady Shiva to track down Raish. Doom Patrol, The Weight of the Worlds, number 7. The team infiltrates Planet Cliff to stop him from basically pulling a Galactus to try to save everyone from ever feeling pain, as Casey takes into the underground to tell Jane how to stop this crazy thing. The Flash, number 757, Brian.
Even a speedster can't be everywhere at once, which is too bad because, like 5 different attacks by different villains are happening all simultaneously to try to destroy Barry's life.
Superman, number 23. Superman goes to therapy with Dr. Fate.
Yes. That is such a good
issue.
It really is. Like, their conversation is really, really good.
Yeah, we also... I'm going to break format here for a second.
Sure.
The villain for this arc is the Lord of Chaos, and I love the idea that Superman is feeling sort of out of control of his personal life, and now has to fight the magical embodiment of chaos.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that Lois and Batman and a couple other people basically wanted him to go talk to Dr. Fate because they want to make sure something isn't causing him to have told his secret and reveal himself to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder Woman, number 758, Brian.
Wonder Woman battles Phantom Stranger to end a generations-long blood feud.
Bitterroot, number 9. The Sangares up in Harlem try to figure out what's going on with this new breed of, well, not Jinnu, while the team down in Georgia tries to survive Ardo's attack. Nailbiter returns, number 2. We learn a little bit about Warren, where Warren has been, and find 2 more serial killer victims dead in Seattle. Olympia, number 5. This really just wraps up the story with the big battle between Olympia and the villain who has chased him to Earth. It's a really sweet kind of ending and teases maybe something else to come. Reaver, number 9, Brian. I think you actually wanted to talk about this one. I marked it incorrectly. So
yeah, that's
feel free
fine.
to take a little longer.
So yeah, this is the second issue of the new story for Reaver, for the new arc. And or maybe it's the third. Regardless, this is it's a new story that's focused on just Essen Breaker, and specifically kind of some of his past. And I can't remember her name. I want to say it's Rakala, but it's essentially she's the cannibal who is just possibly the best character in this book. If you did not read the first arc of this,
hi,
Allie, you need to pick up this trade and read this. It is so good, and it's 100% the characters they have in it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Strange Academy, number 2. We see the first day of class at Strange Academy, and someone asks a very important question. if all magic has a cost, how is the Academy paying for the students doing magic? X-Force number 10, the X-Force goes into Costa Verde to save the X-Force, and Jean has had enough of it. Quantum and Woody number 4, the series wraps up earlier than planned, as we learn who has been feeding Woody the information about the future that he's been relying on for this series. Vagrant Queen, A Planet Called Doom, number 4. Elita takes the fight to Brother John and figures maybe it's time for her to actually rally the troops instead of running to hide. Do you know what time it is now, Brian?
Is it Longbox time?
It is Longbox time.
It's a Longbox book report. It's a Longbox book report.
So I am handling Longbox duties this week. Brian provided me a pair of options in the week since we last recorded, one of which was the book I will be talking about, the other of which was Green Lantern Volume 2, number 167. I think when I say what this book is, it will be obvious why it had to be a long box.
I was so happy when this book showed up and as one of the options.
I feel like this book somehow was predestined to be a long box book.
It definitely captures the spirit of what Longbox is supposed to be, yes.
This is Son of Ambush Bug, number 4 of 6.
Yep, I love it.
I did not hesitate at all in choosing this book. My decision was made for me, and it was the right call. The first few pages of this are sort of parody tabloid pages. We see the cover to the Comics Enquirer, and these pages sort of tease what will be elements throughout this issue. There's also an editorial by, I'm assuming, a fake person named Arnie Glib, that seems like the genesis of Reddit r/am I the asshole? I'm going to read an excerpt from this. I will not read the whole thing. Here is how it starts. The other day I was playing handball with my girlfriend Dina when she mentioned how much she enjoys the comic book from DC called Ambush Bug. We soon began to argue the merits of the book, my position being that the comic in question is complete and utter swill, and that therefore Dina must be a tasteless cretin, not to mention a swillhound. Suddenly, and to my profound amazement, Dina burst into tears and ran off the court right in the middle of the argument. I haven't seen her since. He then proceeds to detail having similar exchanges with other people, including his mother. I was a little worried, actually, at first around this point of what have I gotten myself into.
Mm-hmm.
That then turns into, like, a blind item, maybe this is true, maybe it's not, gossip column, which has my favorite image of this issue, Snoopy as the ambush bug, with the gossip line, "It has come to our attention that Keith Giffen may," and we stress the word may, "be preparing to throw his wild and unpredictable career into a bizarre new direction by swiping from the work of Peanuts creator Charles M. Schultz. Is this true? It should be."
Yeah, for those of you who don't know the history of Ambush Bug, he is very much I think the best thing I can ascribe him to is much like the Nuff Seds from Marvel, where it's just almost like a Mad Magazine style conglomeration of things.
I mean, I can honestly draw some lines between how the rest of this issue continues and something like Fraction's current run on Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Yes, yeah, that would fit. There's a little bit of a Deadpool feel to him, and that he can break fourth wall a lot, right? And remember, all of this is from like the 80s, so
And this is, Brian, help me out here. Is this intentionally meant to be an Animal Man costume?
I believe it is, yes.
Because this also has some very like Grant Morrison vibes.
Yeah.
In that the beginning of this arc starts with a series of text boxes that are all written in the second person. narrating as a sentient sock wearing an ambush bug costume, navigates the subway carrying one of Superman's boots as part of a plan for his master, Argyle?
Yes, Argyle. Yes. Yep.
And then we cut to Ambush Bug himself getting into an argument with the Captions, and the revelation that Robert Loren Fleming, the scripter for the series, has declared himself the Caption King and is trying to control everything Ambush Bug does through his mind-controlling captions.
There we go. That sounds about right.
Which leads to a confrontation between Ambush Bug and the Macrowave, a giant robot radiating Kirby crackle. And Ambush Bug realizing, wait a minute, you don't plot or draw this comic, so that means you've somehow forced Keith Giffen to help you. What we've always feared has finally come to pass. A writer in complete control of a comic book. Because this was, of course, from the days when the plot was done by Keith Giffen, and then he drew it, and then someone came behind and scripted in the actual dialogue.
Right.
In this case, Robert Loren Fleming.
Yep.
The rest of this creative team is Bob Oscar on inks, Tony Collins on colors, John Costanza on letters, and Julius Schwartz editing. Ambush Bug then wakes up from this nightmare and proceeds to get ready. We learn that he'd been sent to hell and just got back and is pretty much fine, other than when he looks in the mirror, there is a big 666 on his forehead. He had been sent to hell by the Interferer, which is this omnipotent cosmic creep. We then cut to the secret origin of the Interferer, who was a comic book writer on a planet where comic books were very successful. He then became less popular as a writer, went to throw himself off of the top of the building he lived in. On his way down, had one last idea, because he was out of ideas, which combined with the solar radiation to turn the origin story into his head into his origin story as the Interferer. And we then see him, start trying to consume planets or whatever. We go back to our sock in the Ambush Bug costume, who's now in prison after getting mugged because the cops needed to meet their quotas and didn't like his face. He calls his boss, Argyle, who's going to go bust him out with his sock puppet cronies until he gets a letter from DC Comics telling him that John Byrne has right of first refusal on anyone using Superman or parts of Superman's continuity in their plots. So he may not use Superman's boot, and his entire base explodes, and that's the end of that whole plotline. Now Ambush Bug is at the Interferer's headquarters. The Interferer zaps him out of reality into a boxing ring, and then into a wrestling ring, and then into a game of Pac-Man. The reason he has gone after the Interferer is the Interferer has kidnapped his sidekick, which is just an inanimate doll, probably.
Oh, Cheeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
We then get the possible origin of Cheeks as a Nazi project to make a doll that is both irresistibly cute and disarmingly lifelike. Mm-hmm. Ambush Bug then gets thrown into a cover of an issue of Conan, much to the Interferer's amusement, but then decides that his over-the-top hijinks will never actually defeat Ambush Bug. The only way to defeat him will be sincerity. So he wakes up in bed again to a knock on his door, where a cop comes with a warrant to arrest him. And that is Son of Ambush Bug number 4. One of the more delightful long boxes I have ever gotten.
Excellent. I am so happy, yes.
And on that note, we have made the decision that we are going to, while we are bouncing some between regular episodes and episodes about trades or runs of comics, We're going to keep the long boxes to the episodes that focus on a single series.
Right.
Which Brian argued very logically for, I'm sure, coming from a place that had nothing to do with it being his turn to do this next.
I don't know what you're talking about. Nope.
Yeah, no.
So we're gonna do a regular episode again next week.
Yes.
So 2 weeks from now we're gonna do Umbrella Academy, right?
Yes.
In anticipation of season 2 of it coming out. And so I will be doing a long box that week. I will let you know what that is going to be next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian is doing his best to have to get out of this.
Just limiting it to.
Look, if we do it every week, we'll stop feeling so special.
Exactly. That's really what it is.
Diminishing marginal utility.
Yeah.
All right. That's for any of you high schoolers studying economics. But as we look forward to the future, we turn our gaze to September of 2020 and talk about a bunch of books we haven't before, and some, honestly, I think we have because things are still getting resolicited.
Yeah, stuff is after this month of solicitations.
No,
so after
October's going to have some stuff that's been being resolicited too.
A little bit, but that's what I was going to say. I think we're going to be it's got far fewer, I think.
Okay.
I think we're going to be mostly back to normal, and then I think probably by November's titles, we will be back in full groove.
Yeah, probably some like drips here and there aside. Like I know Children of the Atom hasn't been resolicited yet, and there's no talk of it in October, so it may be like after Ten of Swords.
Yeah, there's going to be several things I think of from both the big names and from small press stuff that basically just we're going to figure out when the right time to release this is, and that's when we'll put it back in. So it's yeah.
So, starting with Boom.
Mm-hmm.
We only find them when they're dead, number 1. This is written by Al Ewing, which frankly, all I needed to know. I was sold. Art by Simone Di Meo. This is solicited as being for fans of Decorum and Something is Killing the Children. It is about humanity on the edge of space, harvesting the corpses of giant alien gods to survive.
That sounds right.
No one's ever seen a living god, but Captain Malik is obsessed with being the first. So it's about him and his crew on the darkest reaches of space, playing with powers beyond their control.
Yeah, that's not going to go bad.
Yeah, no way.
No.
Brian, tell me about An Unkindness of Ravens.
Let's see here. Let me find it real quick. Here we go. Unkindness of Ravens. Yeah, this is by Dan Panosian. It is essentially kids in not all the way they describe it is not all witches were killed during the Salem witch trials. There was a faction that basically kind of went underground that called themselves the Raven. And they have started a school. So this is essentially a witch school, and it just looks super cool, and I like the characters that are in it, and I wanna read it.
Awesome.
Looks good. Yeah.
7 Secrets. Number 2 is out in September. This is being billed as Boom's biggest creator-owned series launch. It's a creator-owned book from Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
About an order that trusts people called Keepers and Holders to guard 7 briefcases filled with secrets. But someone comes for those briefcases, and the order's newest member has to figure out what's going on. I mean, again, just like Tom Taylor, I'll follow him to whatever book at this point.
There you go.
If my buying random single issues of DC Digital First Series teaches us nothing, it's that if you put Tom Taylor's name on it, I am there.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then you have Wind on your list, which is a weird one because this has already started coming out.
So if I remember right, the way they did this is because Jen talked about this one already.
Yes.
And this is, I think they released a trade for this.
No, this was originally solicited as a trade for this fall, and during the shipping hiatus, James Tynan decided to go ahead and boom, and presumably the co-creator Michael Dialanis decided to go ahead and cut it up into single issues and release it that way first, just to help get some more product out there and to help have more for comic shops to sell.
Yes. So number 1 has already come out.
Yep.
And I think it was just number 1.
I think so. 2 maybe like this coming week.
Okay, but what they have done, and the reason that I'm listing 1, 2, 3, and 4 is in September, they have essentially resolicited all, because of how wonky it was and the disruption and all this. They have essentially resolicited 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So basically, you can get all 4 copies, all 4 floppy issues in September.
Yes.
So that's why I'm mentioning them again now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Moving over to DC. Detective Comics 1027, which may not sound like a particularly important issue at first, but the debut of Batman was number 27.
Right.
So this is the 1000th issue of
Batman and Detective Comics, yes. And they're doing a great, huge, big, I don't know, what is it, 9 or 10 cover release like they've done for their 80-page spectacular stuff.
And just the list of creative talent on this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Bendis, DeConnick, Fraction, King, Morrison, Rucka, Snyder, Tamaki, Tomasi, Tynan, Wolfman, and others.
Yeah.
With art from Chris Burnham, Jamal Campbell, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Emanuela Lupacina, David Marquez, Dan Mora, Ivan Reese, Eduardo Riso, John Romita Jr., Riley Rosmo, Bill Sienkiewicz, Walter Simonson, Brad Walker, Chip Zdarsky, and others.
Yeah. Like this is just, I'm just all about this.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. Yeah.
I don't think I copied the page count on this, but I'm sure that this is enormous.
I think it would have to be. I don't know. I don't think the solicitation tells that what the page count is on.
They may still be pulling. Yeah. They may have still been pulling together creative teams.
It could be. And if you're interested, they are releasing a hardback copy of this issue that has like all the covers and everything in it.
Is that the same day and date, or is that usually those come out a couple weeks later?
Let's see. It's 11/24, and this is it is. So
cool.
The hardback is actually, they're soliciting it now, but it's actually coming out, it looks like, in November.
Cool.
This stuff. I guess they're letting people know that if you want to wait and get it as a hardcover, then there you go.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier that death metal has expanded some in the hiatus. Yeah. I've got in front of me Scott Snyder's checklist. So there are 3 issues plus the beginning of a Justice League tie-in, starting with number 53, that are dropping in September. Also, just to note, there is a Dark Metal Legends of the Dark Knights in August, and a Metalverse guidebook also in August. So we'll get 1, 2, and 3, those 2 issues. In September, there's not a main series issue, just these 3 one-shots and the beginning of this 5-issue Justice League art that Josh Williamson is writing. Then October, November, December, we get 4, 5, and 6 with, he just has written in the margin here, specials, Last 52, Robin King. In January, we get number 7, which is presumably the last issue. A short called Evil Batman. And then in February, ? Which makes sense, because we know that this is kind of the thing designed to be, the first issue is called an anti-crisis, right? Designed to sort of bring all this history back together and forge something new.
Yep.
So these 3 tie-ins in January are called Trinity Crisis, Speed Metal, and Multiverses
End. Yeah.
And
so Trinity Crisis is essentially they have freed the idea is by this point they have freed Superman from New Apocalypse, and the Trinity is back together.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when they're back together. So that's one of them. Speed Metal. I mean, like, do we even need to say what that one's about? Like,
I mean, it's a race between the Darkest Knight and, quote, Wally West and his Dr. Manhattan powers.
Yeah. And it's all the speedsters. Yeah. Right. All the Speed Force folk.
And then Multiverses End is written by James Tynion.
Yep. And essentially, it looks like kind of all of our alternate Earth folk, right? We've got President Superman on the cover here. We've got the Freedom Fighters from Earth X. Now Earth, I can't remember what number they are now, but it's what used to be called Earth X. We've got Captain Carrot on here. So it's all of those.
It's the main characters from Grant Morrison's Multiversity.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And they essentially them fighting Perpetua. Yeah.
Then the Justice League tie-in, which is called Doom Metal, and spans 5 issues, is about Nightwing on a mission to free the Legion of Doom from Perpetua's clutches, with Lex Luthor's help.
Yeah, and can I tell you that this cover looks ridiculously amazing?
It does. Anytime you've got Detective Chimp front and center, I'm there.
Well, not just that, it's Detective Chimp with a shoulder spalder, like a Roman shoulder spalder, and a Roman, like, gladiatorial type helmet on, holding this, like, badass looking sword, like, screaming, like crazy, like Planet of the Apes, like, screaming.
Yeah.
With the Batman Who Laughs reflected in the blade. Like, damn. I can't wait.
Nope. Moving on from Death Metal, we have The Last God, Songs of Lost Children #1.
Yeah, this is essentially a one shot, and Last God has been really, really good. It is basically DC's high fantasy series, and they have essentially created a world here that is pretty darn cool. Like, I love the cosmology of this world, and this is just another kind of a smaller piece of just kind of what happens to, or more lore about, kind of this world. So
cool.
Yeah.
Here's one I was surprised not to see on your list, actually.
What's that?
Hellblazer Rise and Fall #1, written by Tom Taylor.
Yeah, I honestly, I'll probably get it. Yeah. I really will.
This is a 3-issue Black Label series.
Yeah.
A billionaire falls out of the sky and is skewered on a church spire, and angel wings are attached to his back. Here is one of the best lines of solicitation text ever written. More follow until hallelujah, it's raining businessmen. I mean, Tom Taylor writing Constantine in that one shot for DCeased was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I will read any Tom Taylor Constantine content that is ever published. Catwoman number 25. This marks Ram V taking over Catwoman. We've talked about his work on Justice League Dark and on, I've mentioned These Savage Shores before, I know. I could not be more excited for this. It is a tie-in to the Joker War, which is always kind of a little awkward as a way to start a new run, but I think he'll do great things with this, and he had a short in the Catwoman 80-page spectacular that came out a few weeks ago that was really, really great.
You know what? And I don't know if you've got this on your list, but I did forget to add one, and it's speaking of Tom Taylor. It's Suicide Squad #9.
I did not have this on my list, but I know why you want to call attention to it.
Yeah. So first of all, let me just say, I don't know if we've talked about it, but Tom Taylor writing Suicide Squad, this is freaking amazing.
We talk about it every chance we get.
Yeah. I can't, like, it's so amazing. I want to talk about it every chance I get, because like, this is probably my favorite Suicide Squad of all time, hands down.
No doubt.
I think. It has been so good. And I know we did, because I talked 2 weeks ago. I talked about it because I talked about how basically Deadshot leaves the group, right? Because he's now been pardoned
with a puppy.
And he wants to go. He gets a puppy and wants to go find his daughter, right? Which has always been his motivation. Well, issue number 9, which is the September issue, Deadshot gets killed. Like, not a trick, not a anything. Like, straight up. Like, there's a whole conversation with him about how, you couldn't kill Deadshot, right? Like, the Suicide Squad never kills Deadshot or Harley or these characters. He got accused of, that's why you put these new characters in the book, so you would have fodder that could die in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Well, no, straight up, Deadshot's getting killed. And the whole next that arc is going to be who did it.
As a quick aside, I think we're going to get more Wink and Airy in DCeased going forward. I've mentioned before the Digital First series that is single issues focused on individual characters. The most recent issue of that was about Wink and Airy.
Oh, I love Wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're a Suicide Squad fan, even if you're not reading this series, which if you're a fan you should be, but if you care about Suicide Squad, you should pick up that arc, because it's going to be...
It's one of the best books DC is putting out right now.
I 100% agree.
All right, last one for DC.
Okay.
This is another one where actually number 2 is out in September. It'll start in August. The Dreaming Waking Hours, which I think we might have mentioned before. So I'm not going to spend too long on it. I'm just going to remind you who the creative team is. G. Willow Wilson and Nick Robles. It's a 6-issue miniseries. It's going to be one of the most gorgeous books ever released. I have no doubt about this, because God, Nick Robles on art, and I love G. Willow Wilson writing. Moving on, IDW.
Yeah.
Lock and Key and Pale Battalions Go.
I bring this up because this is actually number 2. There's of 2, but I wanted to mention it because we kind of haven't done solicitations. So so Lock and Key is getting a new 2-part, essentially micro series that it tells a story of like old war, kind of the spring of 1915, and John essentially goes missing to fight in World War I, is what it is.
Cool.
Yeah, so good.
Moving on to Image, we have Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky, Ramon Perez, and Mike Spicer, which is about a town called Stillwater where nobody dies. It's not a promise. It's not a threat. That's literally all we know about this book, but I am here for Zdarsky writing horror.
Yeah.
And Brian, speaking of horror from Image, Ice Cream Man presents Quarantine Comics.
This is a one-shot special, which, I don't even have to say, if you like Ice Cream Man, you should definitely 100% pick this up.
So I've read a couple of these already, because they've been putting out these Quarantine Comics online for like $1 a piece.
Yeah.
They're shorter than your typical Ice Cream Man, but I think it'll be a cool anthology to see them all together.
Yeah, so they're putting 6 of them in this quarantine special. Cool. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
All right. Moving on to Marvel. September sees the beginning of 10 of Swords in the X-Men line, which has gotten a lot bigger than it was originally planned to be.
Yep.
So, in September, the 2 issues that form the prelude are Excalibur 12 and X-Men 12. And then we get 10 of Swords Creation number 1.
Is that what it's called, 10 of Swords?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a tarot reference.
Ah, okay, got it.
Yeah. And So that's the first full chapter of this. Then the second chapter, also out in September, is X Factor number 4. And then after that, chapters 3 through 11 come out in October, running through Wolverine, X-Force, Marauders, Hellions, New Mutants, Cable, Excalibur, and X-Men. So basically an issue of each book. Followed by Ten of Swords, Stasis. And then pretty much the same thing happens in November. We get an issue of everything, a couple of issues of X-Men and Marauders. And then the last chapter, chapter 22, Ten of Swords, Destruction number 1. So I think that probably sounds like a lot, but if you've been reading all of them, other than a one-shot each month, you're not picking up any more. And if you've been grabbing those giant size, you're kind of already at parity for that.
Yep.
And honestly, since a lot of these books were coming out twice a month, this is probably less than what we've been grabbing so far.
Yeah, I think so.
But that's 22 issues running from September, or 24 counting the 2 preludes, running from September through November, starting with Ten of Swords creation.
Yeah, which by the way has a cover by Miguel Mercado, which is Ileana on the cover with her sword. It looks badass.
Yeah. Yeah. I am shocked that you would be excited for a Magic cover.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
Not at all. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man: Sins of Norman Osborn number 1. So this ties into what's going to be the main plot of Spider-Man: the Sin Eater returns.
Yeah. Yeah, and like this is a super big. It comes out at the same time, and I guess we'll just mention them together. Spider-Man number 48. Right?
Yeah.
Which is the return of Green Goblin.
Yep.
And the reason it's actually, I guess 49 is the return of Green Goblin.
49 is also being renumbered as 850.
850, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing a bunch of covers for that one, and yeah, it's gonna be big.
Yep. Iron Man number 1.
This is a new Iron Man series by Christopher Cantwell, and it is launching. Tony's back and trying to get control of his life again, and
down to brass tacks, iron tacks, maybe
so. I'm always interested to see when a new team takes over and starts up a book.
Yep.
If it's going to be good, so we'll pick up a couple of these and see.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see like where 2020 leaves him to go into this.
Definitely.
All right. I'm almost positive that the next 2 I have on my list we've mentioned before, but I will quickly mention them again. Black Widow from Kelly Thompson and Elena Casagrande is resolicited in September, as well as Shang-Chi from Jean Luen Yang and DK Ruan with Philip Tan. I know that we have talked about both Elena Casagrande and DK Ruan recently. I think Casagrande did a story in the Wonder Woman oversized issue, like the Wonder Woman 750, I think it was, that we really liked the art for. And then DK Ruan is the artist on the Vault Vampire book that I'm blanking on the title of, that we've talked about a couple of times now.
Yeah, I can't remember it right now either. Something blood.
Yeah, there will be blood. They will bleed.
There will be blood. I think that's it.
But both great artists, great creative teams. Super excited for these series. And Brian, Immortal She-Hulk number 1, which is also an Empyre tie-in. I realized this morning.
It is an Empyre tie-in, which is super interesting. But Al Ewing it's a one-shot.
Yeah.
Al Ewing is doing a horror take on She-Hulk.
Yeah.
In this one shot. And like that premise just has me in goosebumps. I can't wait.
Yeah, this will be interesting. We do get a lot of like Empyre fallout in September as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like Fantastic Four and Avengers Aftermath or something like that. A lot of, yeah.
And last one, From Titan, a video game tie-in. I cannot believe I'm excited for a video game tie-in, but if there's any game that's going to do it, it's going to be Horizon Zero Dawn. This actually starts, I assume, in August. This is the September solicitation is for 2 and 3. It is worth noting that this is being written by one of the co-writers on the game itself, and is set between Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West.
Forbidden West, that's it, yeah.
And if you have not played the Horizon games, or the one that's out, it is one of the best video games of all time, in my mind. Everything about it is satisfying. Aloy is an amazing character who...
Yeah.
Kind of like we've talked about with Wonder Woman and this current version of Jean Grey. Like, will fight back if she has to, but would much rather find a better solution.
Yep. She's, yeah.
I love this game. I love this character. I am here for this bridging the gap between two games. And when we're done talking about this, I'm probably going to go watch that Forbidden West trailer again, honestly.
It's so good. I cannot wait for that game. That game by itself may make me get a PS5.
Oh, there's no may about it. Like,
I know, yeah.
100%,
right, yeah.
That's all I need. That said, Spider-Man Miles Morales does not hurt that decision.
No, it does not. Not at all. Yeah, I've already decided that's what my Dragon Con money is going to this year.
Yeah.
Is a new TV and a PS5.
Good call.
Yeah.
All right, I did not ask you, Brian, if you had any picks for next week's books. So I'm going to talk about mine while you take a quick look.
Okay.
We get next week the first issue of Empyre, which, as I said earlier, I am ready for this first issue. It's been a little bit of I think more because of publishing schedule with everything being weird than anything else. Like, it's been a little bit of a weird, long, slow build up for this, and I am so ready for it and to see what this is actually about. Or what's actually going to happen in it. And then my second pick for next week is called Engine Ward, which is a new series from Vault about a future where these 12 overlords who are Zodiac themed rule over what used to be Earth, maybe? And fighting back against them. I have not had a chance to read preview copy it or anything like that for it, but all of the buzz I've seen among creators I like who've gotten a chance to read it has been super, super positive, and it's a Vault book. It's going to be good.
All right. You already mentioned the Empyre #1. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta have that one. Giant size X-Men Magneto is this week. Yeah. So definitely, like, those have been so, like, all the mutant books have been so good.
Yeah.
So, and the one shots have not been any different. So, very much looking forward to that.
If that is it, then we would like to thank Chase Parker for our intro voiceover. You can visit our website at panelologypodcast.com. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/panelology. Get Panelology merch at bit.ly/panelologymerch, capital P, capital M. If you want to send us questions about books that we're talking about, comics in general, whatever, send them to us at bit.ly/panelology mailbag, capital P, capital M.
Yeah, Al, do you remember, is it just the first 2 trades for Umbrella Academy that we're doing in 2 weeks?
I don't think we actually had decided yet.
I don't know if we did, but
it will be at least the first 2.
It will be at least the first 2. So if you want to read those with us, then you get started on those this week if you want.
Yeah. With that said, I am Alex.
And I am Brian. Go read comics.